So
That email.
pressure.
Oh,
Fast.
fast. No,
What's your name? Representative, did we move that back?
Oh, are you talking about?
Meeting of the Milton Board of Trustees in July 8th, 2022 order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Town clerk, please call roll.
Trustee Smith,
Here.
trustee Wakeman.
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez. Here. Trustee Grandquist,
Here.
trustee Trailer. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Early,
Here.
Mayor Austin.
Here. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. I move to approve the agenda. Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Hearing none, we'll skip over that part. Okay, minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion or comments on the main meeting minutes of June 24th, 2020? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Trailer,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, we have a second set of meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or comments on the minutes of June 29th, 2020? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve June 29th, 2020 special meeting.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Okay, we're skipping over the town administrator's report unless Cheryl has anything she would like to say.
No, ma'am.
Nothing, okay. Moving to the consent agenda, which has the planning commissioner applications for renewal. I will take a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes. Trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Okay, action agenda number 9A is the Great Western Oil and Gas Lease. Cheryl Powell, Town Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Town administrator, sorry, Singwall, had spoken with Carlos, and I can't pronounce his last name, so I don't want to mess it up, about a oil and gas lease for the newly acquired Martin property, I believe it's on.
Mhm.
And I believe that's Carlos with us to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Okay, opening it for discussion with the board, starting with trustee Rodriguez. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Trustee Smith,
No questions.
trustee Wakeman,
So this is the only lease offer that we've had on this property, and how do we know if it's
Sorry, what's the question?
fair, the best deal we can get? I don't know.
I'm sorry, was there a question directed to me? It's very muffled, I can barely hear.
well, I don't think that's something that we generally put out for bid.
Usually an offer, we either take it or we don't. So
Yeah. Mr.
that's
Gallo,
payment up front at 20%.
can you tell us how you make these offers? Give us any guidance on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Can't hear him.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you yet.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little bit muffled.
No.
Hang on, I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was the question?
The trustee's question was, how do we know this is a fair bid,
How do I know this is,
fair lease for? Yeah.
we offer the way that these are set up is we offer everybody the same amount as far as signing bonus and royalties. All the terms are basically the same for everybody in one particular unit. This unit, the Schneider unit, has been producing, I think, for about 2 years now. Some wellbores have been producing longer, and this is the initial offer, or not the initial offer, but this is the latest offer that we had offered everybody before we went to the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to get the permit to drill. So it is the highest offer that in this particular unit. I'm working with some other units up north and some other municipalities that are lower than this, mainly because of what happened since the beginning of the year, not only the COVID-19, but also the price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. So this is actually a pretty good offer. We didn't lower it, which in many cases we do. When the price of oil goes down, our offers also go down, but in this case it did not. And this is one of the last properties, if not the last property, that's still left open in this particular unit. And it's about a 640-acre unit.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich, any questions?
No, I just make one comment in here that in Exhibit A, it says that there will be no facility or operations on the surface, so it won't interfere with any of our park or anything that we plan on doing in that area. Everything will be,
Good observation.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Trailer,
I have no questions.
trustee Grunquist,
No questions.
great. Any further discussion? Not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the oil and gas lease with Great Western Oil and Gas.
I'll second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Item 9B is consider consideration, approval, and ratification of a collaborative agreement related to the distribution of the CARES Act funds. Cheryl Powell, Town Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. I received a phone call from Don Warden with the county on, what was after the, it was right before the packet went out. And was asking if we had approved this at a board meeting yet. I had told him I have not even seen this document before. So anyway, they needed to have this information by June 30th to be able to submit to the state and to the Department of Local Affairs. And so I sent the information to the mayor and I sent it to the town attorney. And the town attorney did not have a problem with the mayor signing prior to the meeting. And he also signed just to have it ratified before the board. And what this CARES Act does is they needed all 33 municipalities to sign off on this document in order for them to receive the funding. And this funding will help some of the municipalities that have been greatly affected by the COVID pandemic that we've been going through. A lot of these municipalities where we have gained in sales tax, a lot of municipalities have lost a lot in sales tax, and that's a big source of their revenue. So this we personally may not need it, but we'll be supporting other municipalities that do by signing this document.
Yeah, I just wanted to add just a little piece. This is going to be similar to any other grant. We'll actually have our own. Milken will have its own agreement with DOLA, and we'll have to go in and we'll have to provide documentation for every expenditure that we have and all that. So it's not like we just get this money. We actually have to prove that we have either lost revenue or an increase in expenditures. And fortunately, as town clerk has said, we've been lucky. We haven't seen a loss in revenue yet. We haven't seen increased expenses due to this pandemic. So we may not use the money, but the idea is that we get on board and help the other towns use the money, and then it's there if and when we need it. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I have a question for you. So it's only for the townships, but it's also revenue. So if someone can't make a payment, does it go to that or no?
No, because this here we'll go back to the whole governmental versus enterprise stuff. So if they can't make, the water fund has to stand on its own. So that has to be collected by user fees. We cannot use this fund we can't use this type of money to offset user fees.
Okay.
And you'll see that, if you read the articles, the cities that have recreation centers or the pools or water parks and that type of stuff, they can't use this type of funding to supplement those things that were closed due to user charges. What it will be used to supplement will be sales tax, property tax revenue losses. It can't be used to replace user fee type of services.
Any other questions? Trustee Grunquist?
On the center column, it says with unincorporated population, that's 353. Then it shows 250% allocations of 176. That is the cap amount. Is that my understanding that correctly?
Yes.
That's a cap amount.
Mhm.
Do we have any kind of anticipated numbers as to what we expect we'll actually need? Have we done anything that way?
At this point in time, my prediction is we will need none of the money.
Okay.
Yeah, as of right now, I don't, depending on what changes between
Right.
now, what happens in the next month to 2 months. Yeah, I mean, we have all seen the news that the cases are going up, but as of right now, we wouldn't be able to collect any of the funding. What we're doing is we're getting our name in the hat in case we do.
Okay.
Trailer, any further questions? Mayor Pro Tem Earl,
I have none.
Trustee Wakeman,
No questions.
Trustee Smith,
No questions.
Trustee Rodriguez.
I have two. If the funds, if I understand correctly, if the funds are not used, we don't have to return it or give it back, correct? It's a grant per se.
We don't get it.
No,
We don't get it.
we don't get it.
We don't
Okay.
get the funding, no.
Okay.
Actually, we have to prove the need before we get the money.
And that answers my second question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little, the way it reads and the way Dole is actually going to execute it, it's a little confusing. Yeah, we actually have to provide them with proof that money has been spent, basically, or we have to provide them with loss of revenue.
So it's the opposite of the PPP.
There you go. Perfect. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
But all towns have to sign on before anybody gets any funding. Is that correct?
All towns have to sign on before the county will receive its funding, which this is a portion of the county funding. That is correct.
I have another question, sorry. I just thought of it. So where does this money go if we don't use it?
But we don't.
It just goes-
It goes back to the state.
Well, I mean, yeah, they have it.
Back to the
Okay.
state.
So it's, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Motion that we approve the mayor or whoever to sign the agreement, to join in the collaboration agreement related to the distribution funds of the CARES Act with Weld County.
Second.
Thank you. Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Trailer,
Yes,
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
Trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. All right, two of us will be recusing ourselves. We are on the Milk Events Committee. The meeting goes to Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Next item is the resolution 20-18 fireworks for the Beef and Bean Day. Milliken Events Committee. State your name and address. And
Sure.
the
Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Ehrlich, Board of Trustees, my name is Bruni Guzman. I reside at 772 Traildust Drive, Milliken, Colorado.
Thank you.
I represent, of course, the Milliken Events Committee. And on behalf of the committee, I am requesting approval for the fireworks show on Saturday, August 8th at our 96th annual Beef and Bean Day. We're using the Tri-State Fireworks, who have successfully done our fireworks for many years. The Tri-State carries the appropriate level of insurance and will work with the Front Range Fire and Rescue for the fire permits. I believe you guys received a packet with a permit request that was included in it, the application, and of course, the map where the map that shows where they're going to be shooting off the fireworks. And I believe you were handed a letter containing the permission from TRPR to use their property for this display.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions from the board?
No questions here.
Holly?
No.
Peggy? No. Scott? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 20-18, approving a fireworks display permit to Tri-State Fireworks Incorporated to provide a public fireworks display on August 8th, 2020. during the town's annual Beef and Bean Day event.
Second.
Motion second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. So people are
Are
gonna
you
really
signing
like
it?
that.
What's that?
Are you signing the resolution?
Are we signing?
Yes.
I guess I do. Form.
Well, otherwise it makes Elizabeth signing
Yeah.
for the application in.
We can
Didn't
change
we
the
change?
signature. Mhm.
Okay.
I can do that.
Great.
Thank you.
I already told you. Double the money this year. It's even crazy.
Make it a good one.
What do you say?
I'm protesting.
We don't take protests on fireworks. Sorry. All right, item 9D, selection of a personnel investigator. This is Matthew Gould, town attorney.
Yes, excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Austin. The purpose of the item before you is to select from among those documented in the packets provided, personnel investigator to conduct the investigation that was approved at the meeting that was held on June 29th, 2020. A copy of that resolution is included. I don't personally have specific details about these investigators. They were identified by an inquiry to CIRSA, and they provided a number of names. One potential investigator said that they could not be available. You have information that we were able to compile before the agenda went out for the other three.
Okay, thank you. All right, starting off, do board members have any questions on the three submitted? Starting out with trustee Rodriguez,
No, I don't.
trustee Smith,
No questions.
trustee Wakeman.
I don't have any question, but my comment is that I believe this procedure is going to end up costing the town about $30,000 when it's all said and done. And I think we need to be aware that that's a huge expense for our town.
It is. Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
I have no question. No comments.
trustee Trailer,
No comments.
trustee Grandquist.
No questions.
Okay. Does anybody have a preference on one of the three investigators?
I would say so far, Elizabeth Rita, probably the top thing for me is the timing.
Mhm.
And her firm seems to have the best. It stated that she will have a verbal debrief with findings in about 2.5 weeks after interviews begin. So that seemed like the best as far as timing goes. Cost, she was a little bit higher, but I think speed is important here.
Yes, I do see that she said ranging from 12K to 18K.
Right.
Of course, a variation if the case being, depending upon how complicated it is. Okay. I will say my concern with Dina Hen is 10 weeks. I don't think so. That would take way too long. Does anybody, are they partial to Deanna Hen?
I don't like 10 weeks either.
Okay. I'll drag this out, so we'll take her off. The other candidate is Julie Pate. And she looks like a one-person shop.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah,
I got from her CV that perhaps that two of them are assistants with her in the investigation.
two other attorneys.
Okay. Two more, okay.
Her timeframe states 1 week, but that was for, it looked like the initial step, and then there wasn't really a, time frame to give a report. So that's what was a little fuzzy on that one. I didn't have a clear understanding of what her
Okay,
time frame would be.
all right, and, I'm sorry.
I think I agree with Derek, with Elizabeth Rita.
I'd go with Derek also.
Yeah. The qualifications seem to meet what we need. Um,
I agree.
Okay. Because we would lead off with a review of expenditures related to projects, in particular the CR 46 and Hillsborough Engineering. So we'll lead off with that. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I move that the board approve the hiring of the Elizabeth Rita Investigations Law Group to conduct the investigation contemplated by Resolution 20-17.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Trailer,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes,
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We will get them engaged.
Okay.
Do we have an opportunity to request from them progress reports, or how often?
Certainly, I can talk to them
Yeah.
about that and let you know.
Just to kind of keep us on top of it.
I thought that might have been addressed in some of the proposals, but
Yeah.
I don't recall that specific
Right.
firm, but I think we can request that.
Okay, next item is resolution number 20-19 to consider the designation of an individual to temporarily fulfill duties of town administrator, Matthew Gould, town attorney.
Yes, this is just a brief resolution that would appoint an individual. I did not fill in the blank in advance to allow you to deliberate, to perform the duties of the town administrator in the short term.
Okay. Has anybody put any thought into who would we have as a town administrator for the interim?
I think I have a question regarding that for Matt. What is the necessity of that position being filled? Is it something that can sit vacant for the time being? Is there a requirement, and or are there duties that need to be fulfilled? I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask this question. We'll start with you.
What I can tell you is that there are a lot of duties assigned to the town administrator under the municipal code. They're very diverse, and I think a central point of contact for the board is probably beneficial. I'm not aware that it's mandatory to appoint somebody to fill that position.
So one option would be to leave it blank, and if it's left blank, what happens to those that would typically have reported to the administrator? Who do they report to then? Is it the board? Does it float up?
Well, I think there's not a designated individual at that point. I think
Okay.
it probably becomes a fairly cooperative operation, and we try to make it work among
Okay.
staff.
So it looks like we do have competent personnel in our public works and parks department, that they pretty much know what they need to do. but I put some thought into this, and I do think that there are some things that come up that maybe we do need a central point of contact for. I don't know how you feel.
I would agree.
Okay, and Cheryl Powell has done that job prior. She did it for over a year. And so if she's willing, she's readily available with the provision that it would be the same, trying to be delicate with this, the same pay, temporary pay increase. Good way to put that.
Same
last time.
as.
Same as last time. Does that make sense?
Mhm. And you have
Looking
talked
at
to
us
her.
like we're crazy.
What's
Is that
that?
something you're willing to do?
Yeah,
To fill in
Is it something you're willing to
temporarily?
do for the short?
short
Um,
time period.
Yes, and only because it builds some stability within staff, if you will. I mean, I agree. I think everybody here handles the departments just fine and is very competent doing so, but it is, it's an important position to have. I don't know what we would look like without one, to be honest. And we've had one for almost 21 years I've been
So you did handle the staff meeting this week.
here.
You
Yes.
also put together the work session, so we had everything to go over. So she's already assuming duties beyond what she is already assigned.
I just want to make sure too, is that there is assistance for Cheryl during this time, so that she's not having a bunch of work added on to her in addition to what she does presently.
Well, this is just very temporary, and there is. We've got staff in the office that have already picked up.
Mhm.
You know, I have to say, we've got a great team.
Okay.
And, you know, we all jump in where needed.
So I take
Thank
it
you.
then that you're comfortable with that.
I am. I mean, this is short term. The last time was very long. A lot longer than I anticipated. But yes, I am. But I'm also going to be on vacation a week of that time. I'm
Okay.
not going anywhere, but I'll be working with my brothers on my aunt's estate,
Okay.
clearing up some items in Loveland.
Sounds good. Okay, so let me just roll through the board, see if you have any final comments. Trustee Grunquist?
No?
Trustee Trailer?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
No.
Trustee Wakeman?
No,
Trustee Smith?
No,
Trustee Rodriguez?
No,
Okay, hearing no further discussion, I'll take a motion.
Before we take a motion, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
On the resolution, it says it has Cheryl as the attest there. I think like the last one, if she's the one that's in the blank, maybe somebody else should attest to that.
That's probably a good idea.
That was an
Yeah.
oversight on my part. I think that's probably a good idea.
You're going to do that?
We can fix it.
Who would be, I don't know, who,
We could have Tammy's present.
Yeah.
Tammy can attest.
okay.
Okay. Okay,
so should the motion include compensation for her? Cheryl,
Talk about compensation over a meeting, or did it
it's consistent.
close?
I just put consistent with last time.
It's
It's really a personnel matter.
personnel issue.
I would
I don't think it needs to be discussed in open meeting, right?
Yeah.
Matt? Compensation?
I think we have the standard to go by. We know the amount that she was paid before. So if we have a motion to simply, with a salary addition, a temporary salary addition in the same amount as before, that's fine.
I'll just say that was what, 6 years ago? Is that
Yeah.
still a fair number?
It's fair. It's more
Okay.
than fair. Thank you.
Then I have no other questions.
Here. Can we try that motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-19 with the temporary salary increase as the same as last time for Cheryl.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
trustee Trailer,
Yes.
trustee Grandquist,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes,
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. Item 10A, trail discussion. Who's going to talk about the trail? The Milliken Johnstown Trail.
problem with the water again?
Why are we talking about it?
Well, I think somebody went out to take a look at it. Come on up, Scott. Give us-
asleep yet.
Give us
Don't
your
fall asleep, yeah.
expertise on this problem that has been going on for many, many, many years.
I know Jason and Keith went out and looked at it. I went out and looked at it a couple weeks ago after Tim brought it up to me. We're looking at a temporary fix, quick fix for it for right now. We're gonna stick a couple culverts underneath the trail and flatten the trail through that area. Then from there, we can look at longer term, more feasible directions, but that'll get it up out of the mud. It'll give them a clean walking surface, easier to maintain for Keith and his guys. We've actually had that on our list, but with all our other projects, it's kind of got pushed back. We actually trying to get it in this week or next week, actually, to get the culverts in and the trail done. So, because it's been, I know it's been a big sore thumb for a lot of people, so we're gonna try and get it at least usable for public right now. So, go ahead.
Okay, so really happy it's usable for the public. What about Binder's property that floods? What
Right,
can we do
right
about
now,
that?
most of that problem is rainwater. We
Mhm.
need to, I need to look at it closer. I've been on these other drain problems. I haven't had a real chance to look at it real close yet, I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
That is what we're gonna look at close to see how we can solve the ditching problem for the whole road or whatever we need to work with to get that solved. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I'll work with Binder on it. I mean, it is his land. That's all we can
Yeah.
do is help him out, so.
Okay. Hopefully he'll be happy.
That's what we try to make him happy. That's
Yeah,
all we can
I-
do.
Don't want to hear about it again. I mean, it's like, it's been going on and on and on.
Yeah, most of this problem right now is it's rainwater is what
Mhm.
causes the problem. It's been dry for what, probably a week now, Keith? So
Mhm.
it's, the rainwater is the problem, and as we know, we're in our dry season now, so it'll help out some of that, but it does need a long-term solution, but we're gonna get a short-term temporary fix for the public, at least for now, so to ease the use of the trail, so.
Scott, has it ever run off from irrigation water that gets down in there too?
No, not that we
Great.
found. That's just basically your rainwater runoff. He does keep his ditches pretty clean. Doesn't seem to be when he's running water, doesn't seem to build up then, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Else?
Other questions?
No, I got no question. I just make a comment on that. So when this was done, it was all done under a grant. Lampron Nearson was our engineers. Shard was the engineer. Mr. Binder did bring up that that was gonna be a problem in the future unless we put a culvert under the road, and there was not funds available to do a culvert in the road with the project. So that's the reason it's sat the way it is to this point.
Now that we have a copy of public works.
Okay.
Taken care of. Thank you
All right, thank you.
very
Thanks,
much. Good job. Okay. Waterworks Pool, Matthew Gould, Town Attorney.
Yes, so this is in regard to an item that was discussed at the last regular meeting, which is the contemplated transfer of the pool property to TRPR. I did write up the letter which attempts to summarize the documentation that's attached. That documentation is kind of complex, but what it boils down to at its core is a transfer or essentially a gift of the pool to TRPR with the various interested parties releasing all of their claims with respect to the pool and also the lake property. I have gotten some input just this week from planning about a couple of things we're going to need to address that haven't yet been addressed. Apparently, there's an issue with the beach on the lake being within the actual legal description of the pool. So we need to raise that issue with the other parties and sort out a resolution. And then we're trying to figure out the status of water for the pool. There's a question whether there was ever a dedication. It appears it may have been waived, and we may have to ask you whether you want to require a new dedication. That's just something that kind of came on the radar this week. So we're still hammering out some issues. This is at its draft stage, but I wanted to get this on the agenda so you could see the transaction that we have in mind. The letter summarizes that the best I could. And we have received some comments on that from a couple of the other parties. We haven't heard from the Metro District, but I think TRPR and Lot Holdings are the main interested parties. At this point, I think I did speak with Pete Zimke just a few days ago about this, and he offered to get some more hard revisions ready. And I said, well, let's see what kind of feedback we get from the board at the next meeting. So that's where we are. One more thing is that Cheryl did confirm today that we have sufficiently notified the county that we may have a ballot issue. And so our next deadline is at the end of August. I think it's August 25th. And that's when we have to have our ballot measure delivered. The ballot measure's already been drafted. I think I put it in here.
Well, no, we have to have the IGA.
Oh, and the IGA,
The IGA.
which is pretty routine, I think. It's the same IGA for every election. But do we have to have the ballot
No.
question that day? No, later. Okay, well, I think that
It's page 36.
the essential documents are drafted, and it's negotiating any remaining issues, assuming the board wants to move forward. So it's an opportunity to ask questions about the transaction as it's presently structured. And deliberate the wisdom of the transfer too.
Matt, I see here on page 38, an email from George Rowley
Yes.
for TRPR that there's probably 10 changes that he sees to your contract. You guys gonna be able to hammer that out?
I think so. I'll be honest. I got those just a week or two ago, and I have not implemented them. I haven't really reviewed them in detail.
Okay.
I glance at them. They look to be very specific, which makes it helpful. So we're at that stage of hammering those issues out.
Okay.
What I did not get back was anyone who said, this isn't what we had in mind. This is not what we're after. I don't believe he says that.
On
And
item 2.6, he says the recharge well, the water lines, the water well connecting points, electric lines, the panel, all that stuff that is going to stay with the town needs to be excluded from the sale. Is that how that's going to be?
yes, and if we're talking about the same thing, there is an easement reserved to access all of that equipment.
Okay. All right. I think that's what we're talking about.
I think so.
And we're not going to give up our mineral rights, is that right?
Well, that's a good question. That is not addressed yet.
Okay.
I think those need to be reserved in the contract.
They would need to be reserved in the deed, and they would need to be spelled out in the contract.
I don't think we want to give them up.
No. Mm-mm.
I have a question.
Trustee Wakeman.
Generally, I would not be supportive of the town of Milliken giving up assets. And I guess I need to understand why we would just be giving away an asset, and is there any advantage to the town in doing so?
Let me tell you what I know, and honestly, I don't know the whole history here, but this property was leased to Lot Holding, I think it was in 2011 or 2013, for essentially no rent in exchange for release of some obligations that the town owned. And it's a very long-term lease. In addition, the lease is extended by the life of any added facilities, which they have the right to add facilities. So I did pose this question to Wade, and he may be able to comment, but it's my understanding the town really does not get any money from the pool. Don't take that as gospel. That's my best information. And, but the town, the property, I believe, is covered by liability insurance that the town pays for. And one of the goals here is to get out from under some of those obligations that come purely from ownership of the land underneath. And there is drafted into this, and this has been circulated to everybody, there is a right of reverter, which says that if it ceases to be operated as a public pool, then it returns to the town. And so the language in there is actually taken from a case where that happened. So I think that's an enforceable provision.
And they're not allowed to transfer this to somebody else. It would always revert back to us, right?
Well, there's no specific prohibition on transfer that I can think of. So they could conceivably, unless we want to, and this is a good point to bring up, they could conceivably transfer it to another district that could, but as long as as anybody held it, it would have to be operated as a public pool. But at this point, there's no restriction on transfer.
I guess I don't see a negative on transfer so long as the provision still stays in effect, that if it ceases to become a public pool for our town, then it reverts back. I think otherwise, as long as that stays in force, transfers, I don't think.
I think there are probably some rules of law governing deeds, conveyance of fee simple, that we'd have to take into account if we wanted to restrict transfer. It's not clear to me sitting here that we could do that. Certainly not beyond a certain period of time.
This is a standard commercial real estate contract, correct?
That is true. The reason that I like to use that is it gives people a frame of reference. It's a document that's approved by the Real Estate Commission. In this case, there is no monetary consideration paid, but it does provide the framework for conducting due diligence. I wouldn't expect there to be a lot of due diligence, but at the very least, there would need to be probably a title review by the TRPR attorney, and it provides for that. And it also specifies payment of closing costs, which is on the shoulders of TRPR
It
as
shows
it's
the
drafted.
buyers paying for all the costs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I saw.
I'm not sure Scott wants to maintain a pool.
Well, wait and tell us what's going on. I mean, it's a loser for us, right?
There is some cost involved. There's liability. We pay insurance on it. We pay some utilities over there, small dollars, but it's still there. But the idea is that we do carry the liability on it. That in my mind is just it's kind of an unforeseeable loser, I guess. Trustee Rehnquist kind of said, there's not necessarily a downside to this as long as we continue to provide the pool service to the citizens, which is how it's being written up. We get no benefit from this financially. We don't receive any payment on the long-term lease or anything. I think it's $1 a year, something like that. So there's really not a bonus for the town on this piece.
Other than saying.
Financially, excuse me,
Sure.
financially, sorry.
Sure. Other than saying that it will remain a public pool, and we really don't have any say, any input in the operation of it or the maintenance of it or anything at all, which I know maintenance
And I think
usually implies money, but.
Yeah, and I think that's what's it from my perspective. What's interesting is we really have no say now. We don't have any say how things are maintained, how it's run, what's charged, who they let in, when they let. We really, as the town, we really have no say now, anyway. But yeah, we're still kind of carrying this liability on our back because we have to insure it and we have to make sure that it's up to speed and up to code and everything's repaired and all of that. I think, a transfer would get some of that potential cost / liability off the town.
I can remember back a couple years when we had to put in $93,000 to repair piping and tile, and because the place wasn't properly blown out for the winter. I think it happened more than once, twice. And that's a huge liability. And that's a lot of expense, in my opinion. I think it might be a good thing to sell it to them.
And one of the other things that we were talking about during our staff meeting on Tuesday is their taxing district is larger than ours since it's Johnstown and Milliken. And so the benefit may be to the residents because they may be able to afford to do more, having that ownership of the pool.
Maybe they'll put in a splash pad to go with it.
Well, they're planning on adding a pool, correct? That's the whole reason we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
A full 25-meter pool on the backside.
So one question I had was I heard something about the pool property and the lake property. Is the lake property, Centennial Lake is still staying Milliken?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What were you saying about some boundary that was?
Oh, what we learned is that apparently, I haven't looked at this on the map yet, but apparently the beach at the lake is within the pool property. This issue really hasn't been raised with TRPR or Lot Holding or the Metro District yet. It just came up, and that's something we're going to have to, deal with. One question is, do we want to let the beach go, which it doesn't sound like it would make sense. On the other hand, what's the process for adjusting the boundary line? That may not be a simple process either. So this is just going to require some fleshing out.
So if we own both, it would seem like that process would be easier now than once it's not the same owner.
It might be.
It would seem to me like if that property line adjustment would be more complicated after after it's had.
I would agree with that.
I honestly, Pepper can speak to that. I haven't really explored it with her yet.
Mayor and trustees, the way that the property is currently platted, they are platted lots. One is platted so that it has kind of an odd shaped section of the beach, not the entire beach, but a good portion of the beach that is east of the trail. And the town code does have a minor plat process that would allow us to adjust that lot line. We just need to get a survey. We can follow the trail, or the pathway, the 10-foot wide pathway, for instance, and that way all of the beach would stay with the lake. The town owns both of those lots currently.
So that would be something we need to do before we sell.
And I can send you all a map tomorrow if you'd like to see it, because I've got one marked up.
So if we were to go with the trail, or the center line of the trail or something like that, and then 10 feet to the west, or however, if we were to define it that way, would it still be necessary to have surveyors and that kind of thing?
Yes, because the trail, you still have to define the meets and bounds.
Okay.
I don't know, I could check with Matt and see if he thinks we could write a legal description that says everything on the east side of the 10-foot pathway, something.
I didn't know if it was legally definable to use the trail as a boundary.
I'm not as concerned about the legal description as the process. We want to be sure that line gets adjusted. So I defer to the surveyor on how best to legally describe it.
It's doable and it's not terribly complicated. That's an area of our code, to be honest with you, that is conflicting because they actually wrote an amendment to our minor plat with the intent of having it be an administrative process. But they didn't remove language in a different section of the code that says it has to go to the planning commission. But it is approval by the planning commission. So it's, like I said, it could happen fairly quickly. I don't view it as being a complicated thing to slide that lot line.
Change that beach. Do we maintain it or does TRPR?
I don't know the answer.
Keith said TRPR.
Oh,
For the record. Thank you.
And just for clarification, this is a gifting, it's not a sale, right? I mean, not obviously, process.
That is essentially true, yes.
That's a gift on the,
Yes.
I mean, there are benefits flowing to the town in the form of releases, but as far as monetary consideration, there is no monetary consideration.
So for you, Wade, is there any benefit in gifting it versus selling it for $1? What's the, there's no difference?
I don't believe there's any difference.
What is the
I think
asset?
I think the key is you want to transfer the asset out. However you do that, whether it's a sale or a gift, call it a donation. The idea is you transfer it to someone else.
So is there any dollar value on the asset?
for tax purposes?
Not sure that you, yeah, we don't pay taxes, so there's really no benefit to us donating it, no.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
We don't need a vote, but from what I'm hearing, I sense that we should at least continue to flesh this transaction out, and we may be back to the board sooner rather than later, given our August deadline.
Okay,
Thank you, Wade.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Pepper.
Okay, is there any other business to come before the board? Comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sure to run.